Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. There's even a brand new Brigadier General tier where you can get a shout out on a Commander's Quarters episode that's dedicated to you. Hello and welcome to everyone's favorite, the infamous Golden Toilet Awards. The newest set, Innistrad Midnight Hunt, and the precons that came along with it have a lot of exciting and inspiring commanders. And then there's the ones that are in this episode and are up for the Golden Toilet Award. Unfortunately for every single commander in this episode, this is not the type of award that you want to win or even be nominated for. These commanders might be bland or uninspiring, or maybe I just really don't like them. Regardless, the winner of this award will of course be receiving this amazing Golden Toilet. And the commander that does win this award will keep this trophy, as well as the shame that comes along with it, forever. Now, commanders can be considered for this award for a multitude of reasons, some of which I have already mentioned. But again, at the end of the day, every single commander selected for this award is 100% based off of my own opinions. So the commanders that you might select for this award might be very different, and that's okay. And in fact, your very favorite commander from this set might be selected for this award, and if that happens, well, sorry in advance. Also, just to clarify, this is not a list of the weakest commanders from the set. This is simply a list of my least favorite commanders from the set, or in other words, my worst commanders from the set. Now, one more thing before we jump into the awards ceremony, a big thank you to Eddie for all your help during spoiler season and discussing these cards. And also, as always, if I make any mistakes in this episode or any of my other episodes, or you don't like these picks, make sure you blame Eddie, because Eddie is always to blame. So now with all that said, let's jump into it. Now typically with the Golden Toilet Award ceremony, we usually start off at number 10, but as you might notice, there's a number 9 on your screen. And that's simply because I only have 9 least favorite commanders from this set, not 10. So coming in at 9th place, we've got Gorex the Tomb Shell. Gorex the Tomb Shell, which is a fantastic name, is a 4/4 zombie turtle, which is a fantastic creature type that costs 6 black. So yeah, the card was starting off great. But let's keep reading. It says, as this will cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You can just keep casting this commander for essentially 2 mana if you're set up properly. So yeah, that seems like a really cool start. All right, let's continue. Death Touch, that's nice. And whenever Gorex the Tomb Shell attacks or dies, choose a card at random, exile with Gorex, and put that card into its owner's hand. Okay, so yeah, that's where this card just failed. A really cool build-up, and then cool, you can get like a miscellaneous creature back to your hand every now and then. Awesome. Now I should probably just mention this now, and I hope I won't have to mention it again, but basically, yes, I understand that all these legendary creatures are not made for Commander, but this one actually was, because this one was in the precon. So it's not like Gorex the Tomb Shell was going to go stomp around in Standard and demolish it if it was, a bigger effect than that. Now, obviously, a bigger payoff to that, and one that would have made this a very interesting commander, is instead of putting that card into your hand, it goes into play. Maybe give that card Decayed, okay? I don't care. Just do something other than just, hey, I brought you this card back so you can maybe use it again. Alright, bye, I'm a 4/4 with Death Touch. Yeah, not an inspiring card that I want to build around, and again, it made this list because it had so much potential and then just fell flat. Or, since it's a turtle, it probably, rolled over and it's on its shell now, and it can't get up. Now, obviously, you can still do some things with this. I mean, some cards that I would recommend to work with it would be Chariot of Victory, Citrus Supplier, and Milliken, cards like those. Chariot of Victory is an equipment that's going to give First Strike, Trample, and Haste, so yeah, First Strike with Death Touch, that's fantastic, because it's really hard to kill it in combat. Haste, so you can swing right away to get value. And yeah, trample, might as well get some damage through. Stitcher Supplier is a creature that both mills you when it comes into play and when it dies, so yeah, getting into your graveyard can be a good thing. And speaking of graveyards, even Milliken can help you out by tapping to mill a card to add a colorless, so yeah, this can be a way to ramp and get more cards in your graveyard. And speaking of ramping, you can really utilize the converted mana cost of your commander with Soldavi Adenate. Basically, you can tap to sacrifice your commander for 8 black mana since it has such a high converted mana cost. You can also utilize that converted mana cost with things like Visions of Dread and Stinging Study. Visions of Dread says target opponent puts a creature card of their choice from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And it's got a flashback cost of 8 black, but again, because your commander costs 8, this just costs black. And then Stinging Study says you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. So again, that would be 8 cards drawn for 8 life, which is fine for 5 mana. Yeah, at instant speed, sign me up. Regardless, again, Gorex, you had so much potential. I mean, the name, the creature type, the cost reduction, and then you just fell extremely flat. So because of that, Gorex, you have slowly crawled your way into number 9. But now we're going to be moving from number 9 on to number 8. And coming in at 8th place, we've got Ludevic Necro Genius / Olag Ludevex Hubris. Ludevic Necro Genius is a 2/3 human wizard for blue-black, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. Then by paying X, blue, black, exile X creature cards from your graveyard, transform Ludevic, X can't be 0, activate only as a sorcery. So good so far, this seems promising. Okay, what happens when we exile those creature cards? It becomes a 4/4 zombie, and as this creature transforms, it becomes a copy of a creature card exile with it, except its name is Olag. It's a 4/4 legendary blue and black zombie, in addition to other colors. Put a number of counters on equal to number of creature cards exile with it. Why in the world can't we get a legal, non-silver bordered monster masher? And to know what I'm talking about, when you have some time, go ahead and, Scryfall search Grusilda Monster Masher, please. This card had such potential. I mean, X blue, black, exile X creature cards from your graveyard is not cheap. This is basically, hey, let's copy something in our graveyard and make this maybe slightly larger? Who cares? This is literally just a much worse version of Mimeoplasm. Why in the world can't we get like a monster masher commander that lets you combine creatures, like Mutate kind of is, but should have been? You know what I mean? Like, hey, these two creatures put together, get everything from both, and all the power and toughness. Come on, is that too much to ask? I personally don't think so, but apparently it is. Regardless, yes, if you want to build around this commander, you still can. Obviously. Anyways, Buried Alive, Invisible Stalker, Blighted Ancient, consider these cards. Buried Alive is going to get you 3 creature cards and put them right into your graveyard, so yeah, go get some great targets for your commander. Like Invisible Stalker, which has hexproof and can't be blocked, so if you always wanted an Invisible Stalker commander, go for it. Or of course there's Blighted Agent, which also can't be blocked, but it also has Infect, so you can take out your opponents very quickly with this. Next up, maybe you just want to take out your opponents the old combat damage way with something like Westgate Regent. It has flying, ward, discard a card, so that is some kind of protection, and whenever deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1 counters on it. Or you can utilize some slightly meaner things like Dreamstealer and Cephalid Constable. Dreamstealer has when it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards, and it's got Menace. So if you can make your commander a copy of this and a big copy of this, well, your opponent's not going to have a hand. And you can essentially make it so they have a really big hand, but one that they don't want, with something like Cephalid Constable. Because when it deals combat damage to a player, return it to that many target permanents that player controls to their owner's hands. Keep in mind this does not say non-land, so yeah, make your commander a big copy of this, and swing and hit, and your opponent will have nothing left. But again, this commander was so close. I mean, the front side, sure, great, perfect. I was excited, and then I flipped over the back, and it was like, nope. Just much worse Mimeoplasm. So, have fun. And Ludevic, because of that, have fun with your number 8 placement. But now let's move on from that disappointment at number 8 to this disappointment at number 7. And at 7th place, we've got Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia. Jadar is a 1/1 human wizard that costs 1 and a black. He has, at the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So, kind of like a much worse Bitter Blossom commander thing? I mean, maybe more so like a Dreadhorde invasion, again, because you're not always guaranteed to get that token? Yeah, I don't know, this commander is just pretty boring, to be honest. I mean, yes, this is essentially, hey, you get a token every turn, make sure that you attack with it unless you've got a free sacrifice outlet or whatnot, and then I'll give you another token at the end of the turn. Personally, I just don't find that all that exciting. So yeah, I'm not upset because this card had a lot of potential, or they could have worded it differently. It's just pretty bland. I mean, if you're looking for a commander that's like this, you're probably going to be playing or already playing Endrixar. Even though it costs more mana, it has the potential to give you a lot more tokens a lot more quickly. Regardless, if you did decide that you do want to build around this commander, consider cards like Viscera, Zulaport Cutthroat, and Plague Belcher. Viscera is a free sacrifice out that helps you scry 1 when you do so yeah, sacrifice those zombies and scry. Also, drain out your opponents with things like Zulaport Cutthroat, and yes, even Plague Belcher, which is a Zulaport Cutthroat, but zombie-specific kind. That actually doesn't gain you life, okay, but it's close enough. And of course, you can also get additional value out of things like Undead Augur, Smothering Abomination, and Black Market. Undead Augur says whenever it or another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. And then Smothering Abomination just is going to straight up draw you an extra card. Black Market says whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add a black free charge counter on it. So yeah, with enough creature sacrifice, you can get a lot of mana out of this. Regardless, I am not saying that an efficient deck cannot be made around this commander. What I am saying is that this commander is pretty bland, not all that exciting, and there's already a commander out there that does what this does, but much better. So because of all those factors, Jadar, you have finished number 7. But now it's time for us to move from 7th place on to 6th place, and to no one's surprise, which it usually happens in these kinds of episodes, we've got yet another mono-white commander that has made the Golden Toilet list. Everyone is shocked, I'm sure. And that mono-white commander at number 6 is Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Do you all know what mono-white commanders like doing? Life gain! Okay, yes, life gain is correct. This actually doesn't do that, which I guess is a step up compared to a lot of them. But okay, what else, other than life gain, what are the only things that mono-white commanders do? Attacking and making tokens! Bingo, you got it. Adeline is a star 4 human knight with vigilance that costs 1 white. She has her power is equal to the number of creatures you control, and whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Wow, how original. A mono-white commander that needs to be built around attacking. Now, yes, you can make those attacks and those tokens even more impactful with things like Frontline Medic, Rally the Ranks, and Dictate of Heliod. Frontline Medic says whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. And then Rally the Ranks can give them +1/+1, and Dictate of Heliod can give them +2/+2. Or how about Divine Visitation, which can make them into angels? Or Decree of Justice, which can make you actually more angels or more soldiers. Or you can utilize those tokens, actually again to make angels, but in a different way with Devout Invocation. It says tap any number of untapped creatures you control, put a 4/4 white angel creature token flying on the battlefield for each creature tapped this way. So yeah, there are some things that you can do with this. That being said, where's the spice? I mean, I guess mono white is just known for boring and bland, or, you know, just kind of falling short in a lot of ways, so I guess I shouldn't expect any kind of spice. And not that this commander can't be built effectively, but again, boring. Give me a unique mono-white commander that is not dependent upon life gain or attacking, please. But because Adeline did not do this, you have finished at number 6. Next up though, let's move from number 6 to number 5. And flying into 5th place on whatever that is Rem Karolus Stalwart Slayer. Is that like a horse crane thing? Did I miss something? Have these existed? Anyways. Rem is a 2/3 human knight with flying and haste that costs 1 red/white. He has, if a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent you control, prevent that damage. Yeah, that's the main problem right there. If a spell would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage +1 instead. Yeah, I'll fix this card for you, okay? Remove that last part. Yes, that is nice, but okay, I'll trade off. Take off that last part and then take off the word another. And sure, okay, you can add a little bit to the mana cost as well, just to make it more fair or whatnot, okay? Because if you're building a deck around this commander as it is, you absolutely must have cards like Open the Armory that can tutor for cards like Magebane Armor or Sanctuary Blade, or yeah, some of the swords that have protection from red, but those are extremely expensive and I'm not going to mention them on this episode, okay? Except I just did. Anyways, Magebane Armor says prevent all non-combat damage to be dealt to equipped creature. And then Sanctuary Blade has, as it becomes attached to a creature, choose a color. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has protection from the last chosen color, so you're going to be choosing red. and then you're going to cast an incredible amount of red board wipes like Chain Reaction and Rolling Earthquake. Chain Reaction is going to deal X damage to each creature where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield, and Rolling Earthquake is going to deal X damage to each creature without horsemanship, which is all of the creatures and each player. And actually, really quick, why would being on a horse during an earthquake prevent damage to you? And with that logic, though, even if it does, why would something that's flying get hurt by that earthquake? I am so confused. That aside, though, yeah, Firesong and Sunspeaker is definitely another card you're going to want to include, too. Red instant sorcery spells you control have a lifelink, so gain a ton of life from these. Regardless, yeah, to me, the word another just absolutely ruins the potential on this card. Again, to actually remove that word, would you have to add some mana cost to this? Yes, and that's fine. But that is definitely a trade-off that would have made this a lot more appealing to players out there, at least in my opinion. Regardless, again, in my opinion, this one finished at 5th on my list, and again, my opinion is the one that matters for this list. But now let's move from my opinion about the 5th place card and move on to my opinion about the 4th place card. And in 4th place, we've got Sigarda, Champion of Light, or Champion of 4th place. Sigarda is a 4/4 angel with Flample that costs 1 green, white. She has humans you control get +1/+1, and when she attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a human creature card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. To be completely honest, and I might be the only one out there, but I really don't like Coven. I think that it's kind of a wonky mechanic that is just, like, hard to keep track of, and then also just, like, why? I guess I shouldn't say hard to keep track of. It's not really all that hard to, like, look across your creatures on your board and determine kind of what their powers are and then see if you've got 3 of them. But then you got to take into account, anthems as well. It's not hard. It's just kind of annoying. And yeah, again, the payoff is, okay, yep, you get 1 human off the top. Cool. So, conditional card advantage for a human tribal deck with an anthem, not all that exciting. At least to me. Again, if you're excited about this one, try utilizing creatures with different powers, like Somberwald Sage, Avacyn's Pilgrim, and Serra Ascendant. Somberwald Sage is a 0/1, but it can tap to add 3 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool, but you only spend that on creature spells, but I believe you're probably going to be running a lot of creatures in this deck. And then Avacyn's Pilgrim is much more powerful, well, at least when it comes to the actual power, because again, it's a 1/1 versus a 0/1 anyways, but it taps for a white. And then Serra Ascendant is the most powerful of all these power-wise because it is a 1/1 with lifelink, but as long as you've got 30 or more life, it gets +6/+6 and has flying. And of course, you could utilize some variable power creatures like Tireless Tracker and Champion of Lambhold. Tireless Tracker has whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate, and whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a counter on it. And then Champion of Lambhold says, creatures with power less than Champion of Lambhold's power can't block creatures you control, and whenever the creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter on Champion of Lambhold. So you can grow this, make your team basically unblockable, and yeah, swing big. And speaking of swinging big, Andric Lunarch Marshal can help out in combat as well. He has at the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if you control a creature that has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Sorry, I always have to laugh when I see skulk on there because all the other ones are evergreen mechanics, and that is most definitely not one, but it was in the set, so that's why they did it. Anyways, yeah, Sigarda has flying and trample, so have fun having your team have flying and trample. Again, not a terrible commander, but again, in my opinion, the mechanic for Coven is incredibly underwhelming. And because of that underwhelmment, that's not a word. Anyways, number 4. But now we're moving into the real cream of the crop, or because it's the Golden Toilet Awards, the exact opposite of whatever that is, at number 3. And in 3rd place, we've got one of the face commanders of the Commander Precons with Leinore, Autumn Sovereign. Leinore is a 0/4 human noble that literally just has Coven. So, here we go. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1 counter up to 1 target creature you control, then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. Again, you've heard my thoughts on Coven. So, you probably understand why this card is underwhelming. I can conditionally get a +1 counter on 1 creature. Woo! I can conditionally draw a card. Slightly better, woo! Yeah, for me, there's absolutely nothing I like about this commander, and I would never think to build around it. So the fact that it's the head of one of the precon decks, I find to be very funny. And because it literally has an entire deck already built around it, let's just skip the cards that I'd include in it, because again, I really don't want to think about what cards to include with this commander that is incredibly underwhelming. And yeah. So Leinore, you might be one of 2 commanders in the Commander Precons, but you're number 3 on this list. But now let's move from number 3 to number 2. And coming in at second place, we've got Kurbis Harvest Celebrant. Kurbis is a 0/0 tree folk that costs X green. It enters the battlefield with a number of ++1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. Okay, good start. It's taking into account commander tax. What else does it do? Does it do something with those counters? Remove a ++1 counter from Kurbis. Prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn to another target creature with a ++1 counter on it. What in the world? I mean, I guess this is probably like the pendulum swinging completely the other way now. Like many out there, including myself, have complained that green gets a lot of the good things, maybe even all the good things. So they kind of had to even things out by just giving an absolute garbage commander to green. Okay, so I can get like a lot of counters on this and then utilize them to prevent damage that's going to be dealt to my other ++1 creatures. So like maybe if someone casts a red base board wipe, sure, I can save my team, or in combat I can do that, but I've got to use a lot of this counters on this creature to keep doing it. This is the kind of just absolute disappointment that I expect from a mono white commander from Wizards. So again, I guess it's only fair that they shared some of that disappointment with mono green, which has been getting a lot of great things lately, just not this. But if you really want to build around this though, counters with things like Forgotten Ancient, Evolutionary Escalation, and Hydra's Growth. Just get more and more counters on this and your other creatures. And then get even more counters on your creatures with Loyal Guardian and Oran-Reef the Vastwood, and then take advantage of all those counters being on your creatures with Rishkar. Now you can tap them for mana. Cool. But actually, if you're building a ++1 counters deck, just build Rishkar instead. It's going to be a lot more fun. So yeah, not a lot of good things to say about Kurbis, except, that you get more counters with the more commander tax, but, I mean, I don't think many of your opponents are probably going to be destroying Kurbis too often. Not because they can't, but because, like, why would they? I mean, again, even a red base board wipe is just going to accidentally take this out because it can't protect itself for whatever reason. So yeah, Kurbis, you have most definitely earned your spot at number 2. But now, the moment that you have all been waiting for. We have made it to number 1. And the winner, if you can really call it that, of the Golden Toilet Awards of Innistrad Midnight Hunt and the Innistrad Midnight Hunt Precons is Dennick Pious Apprentice / Dennick Pious Apparition. Dennick is a 2/3 human soldier with lifelink that costs white-blue. He has cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities, and he's got a disturb cost of 2 white-blue, so you can cast from your graveyard, transform for its disturb cost. And what do you get if you go through these steps of actually getting this creature into your graveyard and then recasting it with that disturb cost? You get Dennick Pious Apparition. So you're getting a 3/2 Spirit Soldier with flying that says whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into graveyards from anywhere, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. Why, Wizards? Why? Why must you continue to completely sandbag cards for absolutely no reason? Those 7 words completely ruin this card. Any potential it had, it's gone. And that was 100% unnecessary to do. This card would not have been overpowered or broken in any way if it just wouldn't say those 7 words. You're already hampering the card a little bit by saying that 1 or more, okay? And I understand why that's on there. Or at least I should say, I more so understand that. That hampers the card enough. And you already have to work to get this commander actually into your graveyard, and then to recast it to actually get the payoff, which again, is an extremely limited payoff for no reason. The potential deck that could have been built around this commander could have been so much fun if you allowed that ability to trigger more than once each turn. And again, I just absolutely do not understand why those words exist in Magic. I mean, I think the first time that you started having abilities only trigger once each turn or specifying that was literally this year in Kaldheim. Why? Why in the world does that limitation need to exist when this thing would not anywhere near be overpowered without it? You could have a lot of fun with this deck, utilizing a bunch of different sources to mill players to get more and more creatures into graveyards, to investigate further and further, getting more and more clues into play. And yeah, there are some powerful things that you can do with that once you're set up properly, but it takes time to get set up, and it's not overpowered. So when you're already limiting this card to saying 1 or more creatures, which again, I think is fine, and I understand why do you need to limit it further to just once each turn? You took what could have been a very cool commander design and a very unique commander in these colors, and now you made it into complete garbage that is unplayable. Okay, unplayable might be too harsh, but it took all the potential out of this card to be an exciting commander. And again, that most definitely was not needed. Wizards, please stop using this ability triggers only once each turn. It just absolutely demolishes the potential of a lot of cards out there. And again, it doesn't have to. So Dennick, I'm sorry, you did have such potential, but your potential was taken away from you by Wizards with 7 simple words. So because of that, Dennick, you are the golden toilet of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. So make sure you check your mailbox for the Golden Toilet Award, which will be shipping to you shortly. Or actually, do ghosts have mailboxes? I don't know. Anyways, sending it to you, okay? Again, a big thank you to all the commanders out there that competed for this infamous award. And if you haven't seen my most recent episode on the Golden Pig of Innistrad Midnight Hunt and the Innistrad Midnight Hunt precons, make sure you check that episode out. It's essentially the exact opposite of the Golden Toilet Award. On that episode, I go through my picks of the best commanders from the set and the precons, and one is awarded with the illustrious title of the Golden Pig. And instead of getting a toilet in the mail, they get a pig in the mail. No, a golden pig, not an actual pig. And again, best does not mean most powerful, just like golden toilet does not mean weakest. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the Golden Toilet Awards, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.